The enormous explosion at a federal building in Oklahoma City this morning was the work of terrorists. The bomb went off just as hundreds of people had showed up from work, just as children had been dropped off at a daycare center on the second floor. In one devastating moment, the whole front side of the
It's the most devastating thing I've ever seen in my life.
The morning of the bombing, my son was in the Oklahoma City YMCA, downtown YMCA. He was just shy of turning 6 months old. I was around the corner, a couple of blocks down from the YMCA, working in the old Pubco building downtown. And my ex-husband was on his way to Tahlequah that morning. Right after the blast, well, the building I was in shook, and we knew something was up, and because it was just this horrible sound, and the ground shook, and so I ran to the front of the building, and all the windows were blown out the front of the building, and I stepped out onto the street and kind of looked around and looked down the street towards the Y, and there's this pillar of smoke coming up. You're like, okay, let me find him. You know, you're praying as you're running down the street. You know, please God, let him be okay. Fortunately, the infant room, which is where he was, it was an interior room, so there wasn't any glass or windows around the side of that room. The 2 years up until she was born, it was just constant. You get survivor's guilt. Because just right across the corner, kids died. There were periods of time where I didn't even want to go out of the house. Of fear. I didn't want anybody to go out of the house. And you sit there and you're watching the news the whole time and following this.
2 years later.
2 years later, we had Morgan.
On April 19th.
On April 19th, 1997. So that kind of, it's for us now, it's kind of a bittersweet day, You see life coming full circle too. The morning she was born, she was supposed to have been born on April the 18th. I went in and I was induced on April the 18th, and she was stubborn and didn't come out till about 2 o'clock in the morning on April 19th. So, and I'd even told the doctor, I said, let's get this done. I don't want this baby born on April 19th. She said, let's go.
When I was little, it wasn't really like a thing. But when I started middle school and I was actually learning about it, not just oh, something terrible happened on that day. Oh, this is exactly what happened on that day. It kind of it became a really weird day for me. There was a period of time when I didn't want to celebrate my birthday on the day that I was born because it just felt wrong. There were points when I was probably like a teenager, old enough to really start understanding what happened that day. When I was just oh my God, my brother could have died, and I wouldn't have even had a memory of him because it was before I was born. I feel in Oklahoma, it's still a big deal in Oklahoma, but on a national scale, it's not the biggest deal anymore. People still think about it and people still talk about it. I think there's a lot of ways that people have found their way to heal from that day, and your guys' healing was kind of forced upon you because I wouldn't come out of the womb until April 19th.
Well, and that did help heal, knowing that you were here. A lot of the mental health that was practiced here in Oklahoma after the bombing, they learned a lot from that situation. The world is not a safe place anymore.
But at the same time, you can't just live your life in fear.
Yeah. You can crawl in a hole. That's not life. Or we said this is not really a pleasant way to think about it, but I think it really put the nation's focus on Oklahoma City. I think Oklahoma City was better for it, even though it was a horrible, horrible incident. But two, I think how we respond to disasters and events like that, I mean, even like natural disasters now, I think Oklahoma City set the pace on how we respond to that, to rescue efforts. And I think Oklahoma City did a good job being on the world stage. I mean, we really came together.